Hello, once again, to all of our wonderful Trino Community Broadcast viewers, and welcome back to another episode of the Trino Community Broadcast, episode 55. My name is Cole Bowden. I'm a developer advocate with Trino. I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Manfred Moser himself. And Manfred, you excited for today?
Oh yeah, there's lots of cool stuff happening, and I'm always excited about what's going on in the Trino community. I just pushed the two new clients, a client and data source live on the website, and announced that. And how we do in Trino Community Broadcast. How can I not be excited?
Yeah, and this is going to be an interesting look at a piece of technology that uses Trino under the hood to create a pretty fantastic product. And we always like elevating people that are able to use Trino in the right ways and make something valuable for their potential customers. So we'll be joined by Peaka. But before we get to that, we have to talk about what's been going on in Trino lately, Manfred.
Yeah, it's been a while. Well, not that long, actually. Like, Trino Community Broadcast is rolling pretty regularly now, but there were two releases, right?
Yeah, so in 437, it was more of a bug fixy release than a show-stopping, feature-adding release. But there's support for configuring compression codecs, support for character values and a couple different functions, and then several performance improvements. If you're lacking table statistics, delta lit goes faster. And if you're filtering on row columns in Iceberg, that'll go faster too. So not the show-stoppingest release of all time, but 438 gave us that and more, Manfred.
Yeah, I love how the open policy agent work came together. We'll dive into that more. But we also got out the column, drop, not null kind of stuff in Iceberg and Postgres. More work on the Delta Lake Hive and Iceberg connector, this time around page size configuration. The reduce aggregate or reduce ag function, which sounds a bit like reduce egg function.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, like if you're cooking an egg and getting rid of all the, I don't know.
Yeah, that got some more type support because people try to end up using it with characters and not varchars and stuff like that. So it's really good to sometimes get these little changes from contributors in that they run into a problem, scratch their own itch, fix it, and like sometimes that's a small PR. And this one came in from one user that did like 3 of those kind of things. So it's really awesome.
It wasn't the technical term. Is it supports slices now? Is underneath the Trino code covers, but slice is not a user-facing concept, so we couldn't use that to describe it. I think is what was going on there.
Sometimes these internal terms don't really mean much unless you're like very deep and down to the technical.
I really think that we should start putting the onus on everyone to learn what every single internal term means. Just, it's a slice. You can figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe in one of the next episodes, we'll end up talking about splits, right?
Yeah, there's one last bullet point, Manfred. It's the Trino Gateway, version 5.
Yeah, Trino Gateway, we now have every 2 weeks, we have developer meetings. We cut version 5 with some OAuth and other fixes. And since then, we had tons and tons of further improvements coming in, including with version 6 that's coming this week or next probably. We're going to have a default Docker container that we're shipping and like much improved like artifact size and all sorts of stuff. So lots of stuff going on in the project, and also very lively in terms of the ideas coming from the developers that are collaborating, new features that they want to add. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, well, in any case, that's it, because it's only been 2 releases, which gives us a chance to introduce our guests, Mustafa and Ali from Peaka, who I'm going to get onto the stage right now. Hello, you two. Welcome to the Trino Community Broadcast. How are you two doing?
Thanks, yeah. Thanks for having us. We are very well.
And if you saw, we had the concept of the episode today was Peaka. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we start talking about Peaka, how about you both tell us a little bit about yourselves? How do you end up at Peaka? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, thank you. So actually, Peaka didn't start as a data product. It started as a no-code project. But eventually, we realized that data integration is very crucial for our users and customers. So we were just looking how to make it so easy for everyone. So instead of building a data warehouse, ETL pipelines and other things, we just want to make it very simple and convenient. So that's why we brought Trino into our product and just unified our product with Trino. So yeah, that's how we ended up building Peaka as a data product.
And you started Peaka, Mustafa? Or like how long has Peaka been around?
Yeah, it's 2.5 years. Yeah, I am the founder and the CEO of Peaka.
Excellent. What about you, Ali?
I'm a very, very long friend of Mustafa, about 2000s, in a big firm in Turkey. I worked there about 25 years. When I look back, oh, how much time passed, but I don't remember at all.
That's how it goes when you're deep in the code, right?
Yeah. After some time, I just want to change things. I mean, 25 years is very long time, and
That's how old I am.
yeah, really.
Yeah, code was already calling them back then as well.
You look younger. I contact with Mustafa at sporadic times, and he thought about the project, and I jumped in.
That's exciting. Cool.
Because what he said was very exciting after those years in that firm. I don't want. I did want to change something so that we can make things for everyone. Because in that firm, we were very limited by the customers, but now the project Peaka has serving all the globe, I believe.
Cool.
So it was very exciting at that time, and it is now 2 years past. I don't remember, like 2 weeks or so.
So did you both know Trino already when you started Peaka from past usage, or how did you find out about Trino?
No, we didn't know Trino. So yeah, we actually knew about a bit Presto, but they weren't using it very commonly. But we were just looking for a solution how to make this data integration much easier and convenient, so without building those ETL pipelines. So yeah, we eventually ended up Trino, so it didn't take us too much time to discover it.
Oh, that's good. Well, we like that when people find out about Trino and like using it and start using it. So maybe tell us more about Peaka, what it's doing, or like give us a bit of an overview.
Yeah, so we actually position Peaka as a zero ETL data platform.
Should we use your slides, maybe?
Manfred with the very subtle cue there.
Yeah, so actually, we position Peaka as a zero ETL data platform. So where you connect all your data sources, which is SaaS tools and databases and also APIs. And so when you can just start querying everything immediately as a single data source. Yeah, this is not very exciting thing for the Trino community, but for our users, it is very, very exciting. So they just think that it is too good to be true.
Well, it's also exciting for the Trino community, I think.
It's fun reading the definition of Peaka on the website, because I remember reading it. I'm quoting it a little bit here, but it's you have it as it merges disparate data sources into a single data layer, letting you join and blend them, query them using SQL or natural language, and expose your data. Which is, I remember reading that and being like, huh, that sounds a lot like what Trino does. And I was like, oh, right, that's because it's running Trino. I understand now. But so there's a slightly more detailed definition for those who would want one.
So we have a very broad user base. But most of them are some companies, and so this is the most wanted report they want to gather. So country-based MRR, and this is very interesting that so many companies cannot get that report. But in Peaka, you just integrate HubSpot, Stripe, and make a query, and you get it almost immediately. So this architecture diagram. So it's a very common data stack, and so many companies have it, and it's also called the modern data stack, although it is 30 years old.
So things change, the more they stay the same, right?
Yeah, so some things are on the cloud now, so that's the only difference, but everything is 30 years old. But it's very, very expensive to build for smaller companies, and even the bigger companies don't have a very good structure and architecture for that. And so these actually times and resources are very conservative, by the way. So you need actually very big data teams to build this kind of data stack. So yeah, we don't actually replace all those things, but in Peaka actually you don't need all of the tools to start actually getting your data, querying your data. So in Peaka you can start immediately accessing your data. So yeah, so we are using the virtualization that Trino provides us. So we have the SaaS connectors built in our in Peaka. So we just add everything, and we also add another layer, a virtual data catalog. So that's how we map some caches from virtual data catalog. So the Trino always see them as a single query, single source. So you don't need to change your queries and other things. And on top of it, we have Flow Engine that you can just use APIs and reverse ETL type of use cases, and also visualization layer as well. So, but maybe this architectural diagram makes more sense for the Trino community, technical community. So here the Trino is at the heart of Peaka. And so the blue ones are the components we develop, and so we are using Kafka and Debezium for other approaches. So in Peaka, it's a very scalable architecture. So even, for example, you can just push your stream data through APIs. We also extract information from databases using Debezium and convert them to CDC, and also land it on Iceberg through these pipelines. And also we try to make it much easier, for example, all type of authentications for our users. So we have auto handlers for connectors, which is also handled by the Flow Engine. And since we are serving many clients, and just mapping those Kafka queries is not very easy, so that's why we implemented a dispatcher layer over here, so which is also scalable and works with the Kafka as well. And we handle most of the token-based authentication and API mapping, and also multi-tenancy and other things on the API gateway. So do we get any questions during the
do you want to go back to the slides, the one before, where Peaka is everywhere, like one for earlier?
Yeah.
So in this slide, if you compare to the one before, basically you on the left you still see all the databases and object stores. So your customers or users have, like, as you can see here, Stripe and whatever. Also conventional databases as data sources, and you also have event sources, and then they have to put together infrastructure. And you are replacing here the whole ETL, ELT kind of loading of the data with Peaka. That part is mostly done by Kafka then, I guess, and connectors and catalogs.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, Kafka, connectors, Trino, and also if you want to cache it, also Iceberg as well.
Okay, so you're running Iceberg within the Peaka platform. What made you choose Iceberg as a intermediate storage or whatever?
So we realized that it is very robust with Trino. So it's fully implemented and it works really well. So there are some tricks for Iceberg to use it. So sometimes the metadata gets very big if you just make very frequent inserts and other things. So that's why we just implemented a window-based bulk insert using Kafka and our internal Flow Engine.
So Kafka inserts directly into Iceberg then, and then Trino just reads?
Actually, we just land first Kafka. So we buffer a bit, then we just insert in another database. Then from that database, we are using Trino to merge into notation to make bulk inserts to Trino. Then we compact the Iceberg tables and other things. But most of the configurations comes from connectors. So we just define every partitions and other configuration optimizations using in our connector, in our metadata. So if you want to just land Stripe into Iceberg, you don't configure anything. Everything is configured, partitioned, and optimized to query very fast from Iceberg.
Cool. So Ali, what are you working on in this whole complex stack? Seems like there's a lot of things to do for a software engineer in all sorts of different parts. So where do you get your fingers in?
In fact, before Trino was formed in the Peaka, I started with Dispatcher. They said that we have some data and please distribute it to clients and UI UX REST clients in data. After that, Dispatcher, we looked at. Mustafa said that we need a data problem. After that, we discovered Trino together, and we bought your Trino book from O'Reilly, I believe, and just
I hope it helped.
version 1. I know there is version 2 now, and whenever we just looked at through the pages, and it solves our many problems, but it is not easy to use. I mean, Trino is for very advanced developers and technicians, etc. Our platform was very low code or no code platform at that time. We thought everybody was saying to us, I believe Mustafa can give much more details about this. We need Airtable, we need Stripe, we need HubSpot, we need that, we need this. We need everything. Everybody needs everything. So we start with some data solution. We saw the Trino, and we saw that it's open source. You can add connectors because there's a robust engine. It takes from data from connectors in some formats, and it executes your query. So we thought that we can extend this. I mean, we do have some proprietary connectors. We just connect to Stripe, HubSpot, etc. Airtable. Our clients, customers are using them. So without some very robust interface definition, this wouldn't work at all. Your interfaces, etc., a bit, I believe, not easy to code because there are so many abstractions at every levels. I mean, slice from the beginning.
It's one of them.
Byte array, in fact, memory byte array, but those kind of things should be serialized in memory, etc., etc. We do copy some of your functions into our connectors, and it's some things. And after that, our customers said that, oh, REST APIs are very slow. How should we take that kind of report? For example, in Stripe, 100 lines of raw. About getting from REST service is about 1 minute or so. I may be wrong, but it is very slow. Okay, so we did develop an Iceberg solution, and I believe there is a customer which took about 2 or 3 weeks of querying Stripe down to 1 minute with Iceberg cache solution. They did some last year's some financial numbers. I don't remember the query. It was about maybe 100 or 200 of query. It worked in a 5 or 10 seconds. So everything came evolutionary. What the customer needs, what is the solution, what the customer needs. So we have to do that. So I believe I have every line of code in that presentation. Because we are a tiny company, when someone took the problem, it just solves and moves on to the next problem.
So, question is, how many connectors have you all built that are not in default open source Trino?
Okay.
So on our side, so yeah, we built more than 300, but yeah, most of them are generated from OpenAP YAML. So not all of them are tested, but most of are SaaS connectors. So we have a connector generator. So when you just give the Open API specification, it generates a Trino connector for us. So how we generated all of them, but actually make those connectors working requires another time. So how to cache it, so how to optimize it, how to push down the parameters to the API. So it's another job. So we first generate the connectors, then we handcraft those connectors to better used by our customers.
And which one of those do you think was the hardest to handcraft? Like, where were the most technical snags or difficulties? Just, a warning sign to everyone else, like, don't try making this connector.
Yeah, Stripe. I think Stripe was very challenging because their fields are not allowing us to just get incremental data very easily. So, for example, they sometimes update records and they don't update the last update field for that. So they have another CDC type of API. So it is not just easy to just connect their data retrieval API. So you also need to subscribe to their CDC type of API as well. And then you need to merge everything into it. And also its APIs are slow. So you need to make those, if you want to cache it on Iceberg, you need to make some parallel connections, so which allow 10 parallel connections to their API. So you also need to optimize to get it. And there are lots of transactions, so some companies lots of revenue, which is nice for them.
So just recapping, I think it was a bit fast, maybe not everyone understood what's going on, but I think, let me try. So a lot of the systems you connect to basically expose some sort of REST API or API, like something. And then they also expose a specification using the Open API standard. Is that correct?
Yeah, some of them have. So they also provide an Open API specification. So it's easier. Sometimes they open a Postman project. So we can use both of them. Sometimes they don't. They just have the web page documentation, and we try to
And then you use that information that basically defines sort of the schema of that fixed data source to generate a connector. But you're not using, like, there's an existing Open API connector that Jan wrote, but you're not using that. You're using something else that generates actual Java code, and then you modify it more manually. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, actually, no, we don't generate the whole Java code. So we also have a generic Java connector for that, but we usually generate a metadata for our own connector. So so the Open API connector that you have is not just enough for us, because we also have Iceberg cache options for almost any connector. So we need to also configure those kind of things, how to make incremental updates and other things on our side.
That's fascinating. Very cool.
Iceberg doesn't have all the SQL types. We have to do some internal column mappings. For example, JSON is not supported, I believe. Just an example, top of my head. So we do some varchar to JSON and back to JSON to varchar conversions. But we also have, especially I don't like time and date functions everywhere, because everybody is using everything in time and date. even the countries, month and dates are switched. So SQL is robust. It's a mathematical relational model, but the data is not perfect. So you have to do some internal, how can I say, just little tricks so that every data source should be must use the same language, and it is SQL in this case. But sometimes they give us Unix time with some offset, sometimes no offset. There is no documentation. You just take the data. It must be like that. So you just try and so that. Open API doesn't have those specifications, so you have to do very little neater things.
I think every single software engineer who's ever worked with like timestamps, times, and dates is relating right now. I know I've personally like broken a website to have everything say January 1st, 1970, because I was dividing by like 1,000 or something. So, you know, I was trying to do milliseconds to seconds, and it's too easy to just see a Unix timestamp and go where you don't want to go. So the ever-present getting times accurate challenges ever present once more.
Well, that all sounds extremely powerful and interesting. You're also running on Kubernetes. Do you maybe want to give us a glimpse at Peaka? Is that possible?
Yeah, sure. So let's actually everybody can try Peaka online. So you can just go to our website peaka.com. You can just go to try for free, and we only request email address, no credit card, no commitment. You can just log in. So I will just go with my Google login with that. So when you just enter Peaka, so you will see the project. This is something we also put on top of Trino. So we are actually putting a multi-tenancy on single cluster. And also we are putting another virtual data catalog structure. So you can create projects, and in each project you can have different data sources. So which is nice if you have, for example, different departments in the company, marketing, finance, and if you want to give them different data sets, you can create different projects and you can share the projects with them. We can also, so we have the sharing options as well in the system. So let's create a new project for you. And
so you were saying before single cluster. So this runs for you, and like if I get an account, I'm running on the same cluster?
Yeah, we share the compute part. We separate the data, but we share the compute engine for the people. So we
that must be pretty sizable then.
Yeah, other than it was not possible to just serve Trino as a SaaS platform for many users with this pricing model. So it's very it's easier for everyone to just use all the features of Trino. So here, actually, when you add up, so you start with the data. So you can just click here, or from here you can just we have built-in connectors. So the existing Trino connectors are already here, but we also make most of them the authentication layers, so such as the EAM, open authentication. You can just do those kind of things here easily, like this one, and or you can also have the NoSQL type of things. But other than Trino, we just map them as a SQL tables. So we don't just allow you to query their native language for Elasticsearch or MongoDB. You just see everything as in SQL format. Yeah, also we have lots of SaaS connectors as well here. And you can also create your own data, like this time relation table, and in BI table, you can create iceberg tables in no-code format. This is good if you want to land your streaming data. And we also have a generic REST API connector. So let's add some sample data and see how it will look like when you are adding data into Peaka. So as you can see, every data source you add seem like a catalog over here, so which is very similar for you. So the catalog schema and the table structure is already also here. And so this is real-time data, so I don't have any caching options. But if I want to get this data to be cached, not to be used on the API every time, so I can just set up a cache by clicking the three dots. And I can also make it and auto-update it with a schedule. So if I click it, so it just starts pulling data for me and lands it on the Iceberg immediately. And
so any query that accesses that data then automatically knows, oops, there's a cache, so I'm going to use the cache data versus the...
Yeah, exactly. Now it's cached, and it's now you see the data faster and query very faster. So, but I don't need to change any query. So since, for example, I have a query over here, I don't need to, for example, change this query. So when I cache it, so this virtual data catalog structures are now maps those tables to Iceberg. So for example, let's run this one. So it just brings data both from HubSpot and Stripe. So as you can see, it's 6 or 7 seconds. There's not very much data, by the way, in this tables. But if I cache it like this one.
So does that also then mean, like, I don't know how this works with the different SaaS products, to be honest, but I guess some of them like charge per API hit or whatever. Does that then also mean that by you caching, you basically hit that API less, so that kind of like sort of saves you money potentially?
Yeah, we are creating a workaround for API limits here.
Yeah, so you cannot consume all the data from APIs because it goes so many paginations. So you can get some queries if you just use filters in the where statement, then it pushes down those things and you can just get it faster. But if you want to, for example, get a revenue report, which requires you to traverse all the data through in API, which requires lots of paginations, and it's not very easy. But when you cache it, so yeah, you get running those queries much faster. And also you can get all the aggregate operations here. So yeah, you see that's a 1 second query now, and yeah, here as well. So here you can just create your queries. So we have fully supported autocomplete engine here. You can also use your queries as any data tables as well, which is also something we added. So you can create your own data models, which is like...
So that's kind of like a view, essentially, right? Like...
Yeah, exactly. And you can also see over from here your all data sources here as well. So we have embedded AI. So you can also use AI from here and chat. You can try to query. Yeah, so let's start a new one. So
what are you writing there? Give me the...
Yeah, like this one, you can just generate your queries over here as well. So this is, you can add those kind of things, and let's add a new one. For example, how it is easy to add.
So that, what are you connecting that to a Google spreadsheet?
Yeah, that's, yeah, also Google spreadsheets, and I think I am only sharing the Chrome window, so you haven't seen the open authentication window. So it just sends me to Google login, and yeah, so it's immediately available over here. So you can also add Google Sheet as well.
So for the people that love working in their spreadsheets.
Yeah, it is nice. yeah, over here you can also access your sheets from Google Sheet, and also Airtable, those kind of tools as well. So we also have NoSQL, but we, as I said, we just use their SQL type of things, and you can just query them like this one. Yeah, so this is the data hub part of Peaka, but you can also expose this data using flows as API. So you can also generate if you want to share your data, you can create endpoints. Also, you can create schedule flows. You can also create pipelines and other things like this one. For example, let's export something.
So that's a REST end API that's like becomes available on your server for whatever to access then outside.
Yeah, exactly. So it just creates a webhook trigger for me and creates so all I need to, for example, access get all records. And here I can just choose any data that I have. It can also be a query that I generated. So for example, let's use Mongo Postgre type of thing. I can also filter those things according to service parameters that I can take from webhook. And yeah, let's give it some name to this output, and let's put that output inside the response. Yeah, I activate it. I have the URL over here. I copy and I just paste it. So it runs the query and it just returns the result as an API. So I can create those kind of APIs from here, and I can build my API layer over here. So, and I can also do the opposite of it. I can just do for example, an ingestion endpoint for maybe something you can have. And here I can just use this time add a record. If it is then I can choose be a table from here, something like that, and I just make the mapping. So it automatically, for example, creates a Kafka buffer for that, so you can ingest your data to Peaka as well. So yeah, this is very easy to expose and import data, and also create your API layers and share your data in the system. And yeah, maybe you have recognized there is a Debezium in the architecture. You can also create one-click cache for Postgre and Mongo using Debezium, and with CDC you can have cache on Iceberg immediately.
Crazy. So that's like lots of different use cases, so many data sources that I can't even like you were saying 300 or something. That's crazy. So what are some of the like common usage patterns you see in your customers? Like, do they all use, I don't know, like you mentioned Stripe, like is there a lot of Stripe usage and then mapping it up with customer data in HubSpot or whatever, or is it like very varied? Like how are people using Peaka? Yeah, honestly, there's so many use cases that I see that I'm not sure which ones actually are used. So you might be able to tell me better what's actually going on.
Yeah, it's a full data stack for a medium-sized company. So, and we have also the visualization layer, so they can also build their pie charts and other things over here. And because since we have the data, you can directly connect your data from here and build your internal tools. And with one click, you can share the links with your colleagues and other things. Have your dashboard, with the link. So they use it. People usually use Peaka as their first data stack. So it's very easy for them to build something without any data engineers and other stuff, and also share data with other applications. And the initial use cases are mostly product analytics and also revenue reports for people. And sometimes they want to join data with their internal database and other things. And now we are having a native segment integration. So you will have all segment events over here. So which will make it much easier for everyone to see their customer 360 360 view of their data. And also there's some interest about creating iceberg table and mounting those tables to their data warehouse. so it's coming a little bit also.
And all of this is running on Kubernetes in the cloud, you're saying, right?
Yes, everything is on Kubernetes, so it just scales up and down automatically. And so we don't scale Trino workers very frequently, but other than everything else is very scale up and down automatically.
Yeah. One thing they also mentioned when we were preparing to the talk, and that would be super interesting to talk more about, is obviously like your cluster runs all the time, you're saying, and you're scaling it a little bit, but basically it runs all the time. And just recently, we talked about this in a prior Trino Community Broadcast episode, the feature for dynamic catalogs was added, which basically you must be using, right? Like you must,
Yes.
like whenever you create a new data source, it becomes available, you must be using that. So how is that going?
Yeah, it's a lifesaver for us. So other than we couldn't just do it. So and when we add the data sources, it wouldn't be possible to just make it this user experience. So yeah, so we were actually trying to make some patches to work it. Then it came and we were so happy about it, and we immediately switched to that create catalog and drop catalog feature. So there are some bugs in drop catalog feature. So we handle it on our side by some workarounds. So for example, you cannot use the same name when you drop your catalog. You need to restart your Trino cluster to use the same catalog name. Yeah, but we have a workaround for that on our side. So we handle it. But yeah, it will be possible to create this experience without that feature.
Have you reported that bug to Trino?
You are right. I will.
It's being an issue. It's experimental.
Yeah.
I've been asking for feedback on the feature.
Yeah,
It's viable.
I wrote it on the Slack channel. I think we should just create them. Yeah, we just thought that it is already no issue.
Yeah, any kind of like practical experience and problems you have obviously are always welcome to like report a bug and find out about, because ultimately that's how the project gets better. Like the typical usage here, like create catalog and drop catalog works, but it's not something we thought of that you have the multi-tenant system, right? So that's why you're saying you have to actually create it with a shim and a different name, because, well, what if two customers want to use the same catalog name? Well, that doesn't work at Trino, right? So you have this workaround, but that's the kind of stuff that is super useful to know. And obviously, we're also hoping to get Alta catalog implemented at some stage, but you're just dropping it. Like when you need to change a catalog, you're literally just dropping it and creating a new one with an intermediary name or something.
Yes. We always use unique names for catalogs on our side, because we have another layer that just creates a data catalog for our customers. So there are many customers using HubSpot as a catalog name.
How are you doing that? Is that like just depending like a shim of the customer name, or is it like some hashing algorithm? Like what literally is going on there?
We are using just the UUID with some internal timestamps or something, just to order by some values. You just saw HubSpot on the screen, but in, I believe, background, it is something like cat underscore some number underscore some number. So when we take the input from UI, we know which user and project ID is being used. So we look at those catalogs and change, parse the SQL queries and change those catalog names to real Trino catalog names. and execute the query and present the result to the whatever user is using, REST
So
API or.
Yeah, so you're dynamically rewriting the queries then, and
Yeah,
like that also
I believe
triggered me. Just
I believe Trino has in the engine using those kind of tricks. For example, you have table redirections, etc. In the code. We are doing nearly the same concept, but I looked at your code. It is very established. Our side is doing a little tricks because Trino is already doing something.
Hack?
Yeah.
It's the classic. It was at one point Trino was immature and new and followed the move fast and break things motto when it was being made at Facebook. We're all there, and then you mature over time. But that's really interesting to hear. It's instead of table redirects, catalog redirects done in
we are doing catalog redirects. Yeah, you are doing table redirects. We are doing catalog redirects. Yeah, because software engineering is always putting some layer onto another thing just to clean some bugs out of the table.
Yeah, you're gluing things together as effectively and quickly as you can, right? That's a lot of what it is. So
that made me think of another question, and that is, so when your customer, like you were showing us, Mustafa, going through the UI and writing all these SQL queries and like making dashboards, where do you store that information? Like Trino doesn't have storage. You have Iceberg for the caching, but like where do you store that kind of information for your customers and whatever? Like,
yeah, we have. Sorry, yeah, you can go. We have an internal DB over here.
Okay.
So it's Postgre. So we use Postgre to actually to store our user information and other type of informations.
Okay. Now I thought of another question. So I saw Iceberg there, and Min.io, what are you using as the metadata catalog for Iceberg?
Hive Metastore.
Okay, so you're running a separate Hive Metastore.
Yes.
That must be a big one.
I believe in the test site, we do have more than 10,000 catalogs. I know that not all of them are running at all time, but we do have that kind of number. I don't look at the product side because I'm always afraid that something will broke.
Yeah, production data.
I don't know the number. I except very, very necessary. I do not look at those parts because if I do something RM, something, I'm just afraid of those things. But I do know that we have over 10,000 catalogs in Trino cluster. Since it is test, not all catalogs being used at all times, but we have that kind of number.
And so maybe a difficult question, maybe not. How much thought and time and effort has gone into making sure one customer doesn't query another customer's catalog, either by accident or like on purpose? Like, what's the security angle there to make sure that this doesn't happen?
Yeah, every customer's catalog just goes out through our data handler, and it's already just stored in their token. So it just starts from here and it calls all over to here, and it's the tenant ID is already stored in the token, and we just nothing is going to Trino directly. So everything is going over here. And so if you even know the catalog's unique ID or secret names, it doesn't work. So we always just map it, and we just if there's something not in their virtual data catalog, it just gives an immediate error to the user.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. That's also why it's important to basically have your own UI for all these things, because a standard Trino AI would just go, "Whoa, look at that! There's a 10,000 catalog."
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a separate JDBC driver for Peaka. So Actually, it goes through the API gateway. Even if you can't use your Trino JDBC driver, it will, you can still not query that part as well.
Because your credentials lock it down, basically.
Yes.
Very cool.
Of course, customers should handle the keys safe. It is like losing your home key.
We assume they preserve their token safely.
Yeah, obviously.
All right.
Cool. Well,
thank you both very much for the talk, the information, the walkthrough, the overview. That was really insightful. It's a super interesting tool to get Trino into the hands of even less technical users in a way that adds a lot of value to the project, which I think is pretty exciting for the community, you know, and it's one of those things where I think Peaka is a great place to get started. And if somewhere down the line your company grows to 5,000 people and you can hire some data engineers, you can bail out a Trino if you need to, or, you know, you're just making so much money, like, who cares? Keep using Peaka.
Yeah, so we also want to contribute more. Yeah, since Ali mentioned we are a tiny company, but if we are getting bigger and bigger, so we also want to contribute. And we also want to make a community edition of Peaka and open source to UI. So it will be interesting for everyone. So it will democratize the usage of Trino to more people and open a new user base for community.
That sounds really awesome. I imagine it is not close to happening right now, but will be in the works. Maybe there's another community broadcast episode sometime down the line when that finally happens.
Yeah, I imagine that's a complicated stack to run on your own. Probably not that easy.
Yeah, but we have a Helm chart, so you can just portably deploy all the stack into any Kubernetes cluster. So GCP, AWS, Azure, and also Rancher, OpenShift. You can deploy it with only Helm charts.
Wow. You definitely need the engineers then.
In any case, if you were watching this episode and you want to learn more about Peaka, check out peaka.com. That's their website. It's pretty easy to find. And Ali and Mustafa, thank you very much for being on the episode.
Yeah, thanks also for creating this opportunity to show Peaka.
All right,
Always.
We're going to sign them off, but we've got a little more to talk about, Manfred.
Really? What are we talking about, Cole?
I'm going to click the button that tells you what we're about to talk about. We've got the screen back up. Manfred, this is some exciting business going on in Trino.
Yeah, this has been coming a long time. Like, what was it? Trino Summit 2022?
Trino Summit 2022, that's correct.
Yeah, so back then, Hope and Bainan from Alluxio talked about their caching, and Trino didn't have a useful object storage caching in it. Well, we have the Rubik's one.
Yeah,
but that's dead and full of security issues and not maintained and stuff like that. And Alluxio had a proof of concept kind of implementation that adds this support for object storage caching. So basically the files that connectors like Iceberg, Delta Lake, Hoodie, and Hive would download to run their queries, cache them on the Trino workers. Alluxio had this like proof of concept PR and talked about this. And thanks to the heavy work from people at Dune and other places, we just merged the support for Delta Lake of this in Trino, which is really awesome. It's going to come in the next release, 4.39. Currently, we have Delta Lake support in and merged from Dune. People from Apple are working on Iceberg and Hive support. People from OneHouse are working on Hoodie support, and I'm pulling together the documentation, and Starburst is helping get everything reviewed and everything orchestrated. And hopefully in the next couple of releases, we can kill off Rubik's and have all this caching in place. So it's be pretty interesting, good collaboration led by Starburst. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up. So this is where you can track the work being done. We're in a flurry of activity trying to get everything robustly filled in for the next Trino release, but may take until 440 for everything to be included. So keep an eye on the release notes for 439 and 440. We'll be talking about this again once the next Trino Community Broadcast goes live and these releases have been cut. So you'll hear more about it from us soon enough, but we're excited about it. Caching is a big deal. It can lead to small, moderate, or huge performance gains, depending on just how effectively you are able to leverage the caching. If your query is the perfect size, I think you can expect it to go several times faster. If your query is huge, maybe a little bit faster. But either way, it's a big improvement, and it should make Trino really. We marketed as ludicrously fast, and this will help continue that trend of being ludicrously fast. So
yeah, there's lots going on for the ludicrous fastness.
yeah, everything is making it faster all of the time. Like, we don't even need to talk about the other stuff we're working on right now.
Yeah, so also what's coming up as well in future episodes, we're gonna have Vast as our next guest, talking about their database and system and integration with Trino. And then I'm going to have David and Matt Stevenson join us, and we'll show OpenTelemetry integration, which has been super interesting to see how OpenTelemetry has been in Trino for quite a while, but we'll see how it's used in production to troubleshoot big clusters. Peaka could use their Starburst, uses it on Starburst Galaxy, and obviously you can also play around and look at the traces and spans on your local deployment. We got that going, so it should be super interesting. So Trino Community Broadcast is rolling along with more interesting episodes, and we'll probably also be announcing some other events in the future, right?
Yeah, a little rabbit told me that Trino Fest may be getting announced soon. Can't share details yet, but it's on the way.
Yeah,
in any case, I think that's it from us, Manfred. It's been a pleasure as always. And we'll see all of you next time.
Music for the show is from the Mega Man 6 gameplay album by Krzysztof Sławikowski. Don't forget to give us a star on the Trino repository at github.com/TrinoDB/Trino. And for more information on future shows and to find show notes, check out trino.io/broadcast.